This is my ring blower, Creality Ender 5 Plus here. Okay, quick look at that. Basically it has two blowers, one this side, one that side. I blow it down through a channel that goes all the way around the hot end and under the part. Now doing this actually moves the hot end towards us, like forward in a way, and to get the full depth of the print you have to be able to move allow the carriage to move back, and that's what this is for. The end stop has been taken off and put on this here that allows you to move the end stop forward and back a bit, but also allows you to tilt it, and that knocks against the carriage up here. The belt is inside this section on both sides, so that doesn't really have any impact. But also to do that you do need these metal brackets instead of the normal brackets. Now my original brackets have, well, I've thrown them out because they're cracked up here at the top. They're not too bad at the bottom. I think they're alright at the bottom. I'll try and show you. This is like an original bracket, a bit dusty there, but hopefully you see that, bolted in, and that is actually bolted in to the section here. There are holes, tapped holes in the section, but this metal one here, this, I think it's aluminium, has to use T-nuts in the sections basically, and that allows this carriage to go further back, because I'll try and show you again on here. This section here that would be on the back, see how that section is further cut forward to allow for that, and it's the same with the carriage going back towards the back. The wheels of this section here would bang against it, but by putting a metal like a couple of angles in there, we can see that, well, you can't see it in a way, but take my word, that allows for the carriage to move further back enough to allow for the full depth of the print, even though the hot end's been moved forward. So this is the hot end blower, and there's almost like a bit of a tube there to blow across the hot end. And as I say, this is one of the blowers. I'll show you the other one on the other side. So it's got two of these blowers. Bale touch here, which can be obviously adjusted. Quite a few holes in here as well to adjust the height of the bale touch if you want to. Like two tie wraps up here to fasten. Really I probably need to tuck these wires into this conjoint, but that's those fasten the conjoint up there. Oops, sorry, my wire's getting caught up terribly here. And this here is like a section that, well, like a piece that you screw bolt on that can be adjusted, and that's to knock this end switch here. This is for the X carriage, and that one is for the Y carriage, and the bale touch in this case is for Z carriage to a certain extent, up and down. I'll try and show you from the back. So I'm just printing out a Brontosaurus actually. Well, I've split this file into two parts to make it easier to print. Now, as you might gather from here, well, it's not just this hot end, I don't think, and this ducting here, but other ducting as well. They seem to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they hide a lot of being able to view where the nozzle is. on this machine, the Creality Ender 5 Plus, we have this section here which makes it very difficult to sort of see what you might just make out the nozzle there, see where the nozzle is. So that doesn't help. Don't think there's much else I can say. It takes a bit of adjustment when if you put this on. You have to take the old one off, put this one on. That's from above. This front part can hinge down as long as you allow enough wiring in. There's a couple of bolts up here. I don't think those bolts are really needed, but that does allow this to hinge down to get access to it. Is there any benefit to having this? Well, the original Ender 5 Plus, it seems to almost, I think it has one blower that almost curves the air round across from the right hand side, but there's nothing to come from the left hand side. This should blow air all round the hot end. It is a ring. I don't think I can show you that actually. You might see, hopefully I can get a different video about that, but that's it. Is this any better than the original Creality Ender 5 Plus blower? Well, I don't know, to be honest. I haven't noticed any difference, but I don't do an awful lot of bridging, what's known as bridging, or anything like that. In theory, this certainly, well, it should be better because it's blowing air all around the part rather than just from the right hand side in the case of the, I've got that light on, yeah, of the Creality Ender 5 Plus. That's it really. Well, after drilling the holes, the small holes here, to 2.5, that's ready for a 3mm bolt. There's quite a few holes here. That's to give adjustment for the BL touch that will go on here. And I've already wired up in parallel. These are two 24-volt lows. Actually, oh, that's a front one, sorry. That's a front fan, that's a 40mm front fan, 24-volt Creality, that's for the hot end. This is a blower. .24-volt. Now there are different ones of these. If you look at the edge here, this sort of lug here, this one on these, it goes in a, well, it's sort of in a bit. Where's my other one? This is the other one where it doesn't go in. See the lug there? It goes right up to the edge of the back plate there. Now, a blower basically uses centripetal forces to spin the air out and blows out the side here. so it didn't blow out like a normal fan. Well, what we might call a normal fan, which takes in from one side and just blows out the other, blows out the side. Okay, so I've wired those two up in parallel anyway, 24 volt. Just up to the part cooling fan, those two blows. Then I'm going to fit this part to this back plate here. See, the blows blow down through here, and basically the idea is to blow air all down through these holes. So there's two blows, one on each side, and then the hot end basically goes through this square hole there. This hole here is for this bolt, which tends to stick forward a bit. That's for one of the eccentric nuts to grip the like pulley wheel type thing, roller wheel on the bottom of this carriage here. So that sticks forward a bit, so that's what that hole is for there. So you want, I put supports on just on the middle plate for this. A bit of filament in there. The trick I use here is some blue tack or white tack on the end of the screwdriver to hold the screw on so that doesn't just fall off. So basically that screws on there. There's a couple of slots here. That screw and one there and one there. Okay, I'll do that off camera. A bit awkward on camera. After drilling the holes to 2.5, I forced a 3mm bolt in, screwing it in, and I was doing the tapping action of screwing it in about 1 turn, quarter turn backwards, screwing it in, and then removed the balls out of here. You see the two balls there hold this on. That's on there pretty firm. But when I put the hot end on here, there's two big balls to go in there as well. But anyway, so those are now tapped. That will cut the threads. This is PLA into the plastic. That will cut the threads, will shape the threads, it molds the threads in. You don't really need a tap to do that. Actually, to a certain extent I don't recommend using a tap, because I think using a tap makes them just that little bit loose. So anyway, I'm going to screw this on off camera. There we are, two balls in there. Now putting them in is a bit fiddly because of the distance we've got to reach, but using that blue tack on the end of the driver there does help. Now this can move a little bit. There's a couple of slots in here that allows you to move it up and down a bit if you need to adjust it a little bit. Then I'm going to put the hot end in, okay. So the hot end, the heat block here, there's a square hole in there that actually goes into the here. So there we are, put those two balls in. These are 35mm long, these two balls. The other ones are about 8mm, M3s. I did have to manually, I'll redesign this a bit. I forgot to allow for the cables coming down here. I do have a screw in thermostat, thermocouple, whatever they call it, in here, which sticks out a bit as well, so I had to cut this edge out here. This plate here is to try and stop any air that's blown across the hot end going down. That's what this sort of plate is sticking out there, but that's in there okay. I think I'll put this BL Touch which I've already screwed onto the plate here, M3 balls into here. So there we are. I put this one in the top hole, the top one. I think this is about the second hole from the bottom in this case. It gives a bit of adjustment down from where it is at the moment. I think it will want to come down a bit where I've got it now. I'll adjust that later. But then going to two blowers slide into these two almost slots, and you want the blades facing outwards. Make sure you got the opening where the air blows out facing down into these two holes here. Sometimes I think some of them, yeah, this one does. Don't know about that other one has an arrow on. See which where the air blows. And you just want this edge here on the edge of the plastic, okay? It will go deeper, so you've got a bit of adjustment there. Likewise with this blower. Let me move that hot end blower fan out the way. So again, opening facing downwards, blades on the outside. Slide it in there. Stiff that one, I don't know why. Again with the edge just on the edge of the plastic, and that lines up the hole in the bottom. Okay, this is for the carriage stop here, the X carriage, and that basically bolts on here, and that can be adjusted to knock against this carriage stop, end stop that's on here. Hard to see that actually, that's better. So it's just a micro switch in there. I'll put that on and then I'll come back. I'm only going to put two balls on diagonally on this one, I think. There we are. So I've only put two balls in diagonally. That's enough to hold it on. And as I move it over, listen. You hear the end stop. Y end stop clicking there. So you've got quite a bit of adjustment there. And you can unscrew like the bolt here to slide this micro switch left or right. So I guess that's about 5mm in actually. Then I'm going to put this front sort of fan for the hot end cooling fan on. I'm going to yeah, I've already pre-drilled these to 2.5 and forced the bolt in each one. Then you want 10mm balls to come in from the side here. There we are, two screws in, and then that can like quite freely hinge if you need to get in at the hot end a bit. I'm going to move that up, minding the wires, and there's a couple of holes in here, so you can put two 3mm balls to screw that up, Actually, that will stop up there. I found that will stop up there without screws. They're bolts. So, but I'm going to put a couple of M3 bolts in there, and then I'll put the front hot end cooling fan on here, which goes that way around with the struts to support it face and the label facing in. That's the way it blows. 24 volt. This is the original Creality. Little bit of noise off this one, so I might look for a quieter fan on there. But that blows in into this almost tube part here, directed under the hot end, and then that plastic plate that's on here tries to stop as much air blowing down from there as much as possible. Two angles here help any hot air come up. So there's a bit of sort of design consideration gone into this. If you find this hard to get in here, you might have to move this. This will slide up and down a little bit on those two slots. That in there's a couple of slots in here as well. So it will slide up and down a little bit. You might have to move it down a bit because sometimes it does catch on this cable support I have here, which I'll show you just now. So I'll put a couple of bolts in there, I'll put the fan on, then I'll come back. So there we are, put a couple of bolts in the top part here, again using some blue tack, white tack. Actually I think white tack is a bit more tacky than the blue tack. And I'll put this fan on. I haven't totally tightened it up because I think it makes more noise when you tighten it up. This is the Creality fan. I'll turn it on. This is the the hot end fan for keeping the hot end cool. So I'll just power it up and you can listen to this. See the bale touch works there. Sorry about this jerking, but my tripod is pretty broken. I think if I tighten these, I've only got 2 bolts in there, that's enough to hold that on there firmly. As I say, I haven't totally tightened that up. These slots in here are for tie wraps to go through to fasten the conduit and the wires up basically. Now you want to remember that if you want to be folding it forward, you want a bit of looseness in this fan wire so that you can move this forward. Same with the blower fans, if you want to be sliding them out at all, you'll want like a bit of looseness in the wires. Okay, so I'll get some tie wraps on there and I'll come back after that. So I'll put a tie wrap on the bottom slot and one on the top slot. Bit of a mess of the wires here, I might be able to tuck those into the conduit later on. Now I have to adjust this bale touch now, but before I do that I'll make sure that these 2 fans are part cooling fans, blowers I should call them, are going to turn. One thing about having the fins on the outside, you can see them turning. So I'll show you that. I'll show you one of them anyway, I think. You might just make it out here. So I'll go on the control. I think it's temperature. Fan speed 1. %. That's pretty noisy there. I don't know if you can make that out turning, but you'd certainly hear it. I'll tweak about with this a bit to see if we can get that a bit less noisy. Yes, this other fan's turning. Oops. blower, I should call it a blower. Stop now, not so noisy now. Fans can be weird. Let's move it back over here. So it was just like the initial turning on there, I think, hopefully. Well, I'll look at that later. I want to get, before I forget, you also have to adjust this end stop for the carriage going forwards and backwards, because moving that hot end forward on those like stands that are there for the air to channel to be able to blow around the back has moved the whole hot end forward, so the whole carriage has to be able to move further back, and that's what this switch is for over here. Can't really see that, can we? Very hard to see. So obviously you can hear I've turned it on. I've slid that down, going on a motion, auto home. Let me move that over, because first thing it does is touch this, and it touches the back one, which is okay. See, that's tripping that, and then it's going to do the Z. So I'll come back when it's getting near the top. I might move angles actually. So here, this one problem with the Creality Ender 5 Plus is this beam going across here makes it very hard to see things. And you see that the nozzle is quite a gap there. So I'm going to I'll adjust this off camera and get the Z probe height set as well. Then I'll come back and show you a print. Well, I'll probably put that on the beginning of this video actually, the printing. So I'll just show you that switch over there a bit. I'm sorry, I'm knocking the camera here. Anybody want to buy me a new tripod? So this is the switch. See how there's a slot there, so you can slide this forward and backwards a bit. You've got just a T-nut under here going in the section that goes across, and as I say, you can adjust that, tilt it up and down. At the moment that's banging against this carriage rail. The belt is inside the carriage on the other side, so that doesn't really have an impact, but I think it's touching the metal. I'll do a home. So first of all, this comes in here, locks that, and that locks that. Hopefully you've seen that. And then it goes up for the level there. But as I say, I'll adjust that off camera, it's going to take a while.